Is that like straight across? Or is it at an angle?
It looks like it's a triangular wound. It's expanding as it goes farther.
Okay. And so what does that tell you about that wound?
Well, it tells you that it probably started on this side and the shot dispersed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. You knew at the time of your report in April that the gunshot wounds on Mr. Arbery's body were the result of a struggle over a shotgun.
Yes.
Okay, and you knew that from the information gathered by, I think you said, Alexis Brown.
Let me just check on that. Well, it says an altercation that resulted in him being shot multiple times.
Well, it says a struggle over the shotgun in your report, does it not?
In my report.
On page 5 of your report, didn't you state that the 25-year-old black male Ahmaud Arbery died of multiple shotgun wounds sustained during a struggle for a shotgun?
Yes.
Okay. So you were aware at the time you wrote the report that there was a struggle over a gun?
Yes.
You were aware, were you not, that Mr. Arbery in fact had his hand on the shotgun?
Well, if there was a struggle, I guess he did. I didn't have any video of the incident.
Okay. And the video wouldn't change that. You saw, in fact, in the video and in the frame-by-frame, a struggle over the gun.
Right.
You saw in the frame-by-frame that Mr. Arbery had his hand on the shotgun, correct?
Yes.
You saw in the video and in the frame-by-frame that even with the wound to the wrist, Mr. Arbery was able to swing punches and hit Travis McMichael.
Yes.
Nothing about the radial artery or the wound that we saw in Exhibit 12.
Ulnar artery.
What did I say? Radial artery, not radial artery, ulnar artery.
Yes.
Okay, nothing about that wound, the blood spurting, or any other damage to the tissue prevented Mr. Arbery from holding the gun with one hand and swinging and hitting Mr. McMichael with the other hand.
That's correct.
Of course, as the medical examiner, it's not your concern of what led up to that moment.
I'm not sure I understand that question.
You don't know what happened at Larry English's house?
No.
You don't care what happened at Larry English's house?
Well, I don't know that I don't care.
Because you don't know what you don't know?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't ask about what happened at Larry English's house. No one reported it to you.
Well, there was television coverage of that.
I mean, officially.
Oh, no, officially, no.
Okay. It wouldn't change your opinions in this case. You're looking at the body and reporting as a scientist what you see on the body.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you ever reconcile with Brian Leopard why you came to the conclusion that the chest wound that you examined, that the target to muzzle distance of the chest wound, in your opinion, is from 20 to 3 inches, and Mr. Leopard's opinion is it's either a contact or near contact, which he describes as an inch. Did you ever reconcile that?
Well, I told him that I thought that he was shot through the wrist in front of the chest, and no, I guess we never reconciled that. Although, I felt because we kind of agreed because we both said it could be a close contact wound.
So the one area of agreement that you have in your muzzle to target distance is you both agree it's at some point it could be within an inch to 3.
It's possible, yes.
Okay.
No, well, I said 3 inches. Yeah.
You said 3,
Yeah,
but he testified to 1, and you disagree with that opinion.
Well, I don't disagree with it, but my opinion is 3.
Okay.
Because you have the wrist there. You can't get any closer.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
You were asked by the GBI back in May if you could determine the sequence of shots.
Yes.
And through Shannon Walden, you reported to Lawrence Kelly, that's his right name, Agent Kelly, that you could not determine the sequence of shots, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You were asked actually by the FBI in July of 2020 if you had an opinion about the sequence of shots, right?
Yes.
And you reported to the FBI that no, you don't have an opinion as to sequence of shots, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, by July of 2020, certainly, you were aware there was a video.
Yes.
Did you say to the FBI, you guys, if you want an opinion, bring me the video, and I'll look at it for you?
Well, that's not how it runs. Usually there's a prosecutor who will contact us and we'll talk about the case. And at that time it might come up, but we don't continue to work on these cases if there's nothing happening.
Okay, but you were being contacted now by 2 investigative agencies and asked your opinion. You were aware they wanted your opinion about this.
Well, I'm not sure why they wanted my opinion about it. In fact, the people should know generally we do not have opinions about the order of the shots.
It actually is something that's fraught with danger for a medical examiner to give an opinion about the order of shots.
The medical examiner just can't do that. I don't know how he could do it.
Right.
This is an exceptional circumstance where there's a video.
Right. All right. And that's what you told the FBI is, we don't do that. That's not something our office does.
Correct.
Okay. But once you were provided the video, you now, as you've testified, do have an opinion about the order of shots.
Yes.
Okay. And it's based on your analysis of the frame-by-frame photographs from the video.
That is correct.
Okay. Ms. Dunikoski posed to you a couple hypotheticals of how Mr. Arbery's wounds were in fact inflicted, right? One question was, could the wound to the wrist, which you've described now for the jury and shown them, have occurred because Mr. Arbery swiped the gun and somehow the shot was from his thumb to his pinky?
Well, that's not exactly what she asked me. I don't. And I think I answered that question with a no, didn't I?
I think you did.
Okay.
Okay. Another alternative explanation, would you agree, is that Mr. Arbery in fact grabbed the gun, and when the gun was pulled back and fired, it could have caused the injury.
That could have happened, yes.
And that is consistent with...
The injury is to the wrist, though.
Would have been more like that?
Yes.
Okay. And that's consistent with the video and the frame-by-frame analysis that you've seen in this case?
Well, I don't know. I couldn't see where that happened. It happened in front of the truck. So,
right. So you're doing your best to give opinions, but you really couldn't see.
Well, I know the location of the wound, and I know that it bled.
So when you do see the wound to the wrist, it's already to the left of the truck as we're facing.
Well, I don't know that all I see is the blood coming from the wound at the wrist.
Right. And I mean, that's what informed you was the blood.
Right.
The arterial spurt.
Yes.
Okay. My question is it consistent with the wrist wound for Mr. Arbery to have grabbed the gun and the gun been pulled back by Mr. McMichael when it was fired?
That's possible.
That would have explained both the injury to the wrist and the injury, the close contact or near contact or 3-inch wound or a distance.
Allow room for the wrist, and we're
right.
good.
A couple inches.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Wood, was all the jury able to see that?
You testified today By the way, I don't know, from looking at the video in your analysis for this case, did you determine how many times Mr. Arbery punched Mr. McMichael?
I did not.
Okay. You didn't count it?
I did not.
Okay. In testifying about Mr. Arbery's actions after being shot, let me back up a second. You watched the video and saw him, despite having a shotgun wound to the chest, which was fatal,
The chest and the wrist, yeah.
and the wrist, he's still able to push Mr. McMichael through the truck off screen from the video.
Yes.
Some 10 feet or more from what you can see on the video.
Yes.
Still able to punch and grab the gun at the same time he's punching from the video.
Yes.
And you described the adrenaline that Mr. Arbery could have had, which could explain why he's able to continue doing that.
Yes.
And I think you described it as a fight or flight response.
That is correct.
Now, again, you don't know what preceded what you saw on the video, right? In terms of what Mr. Arbery had been doing beforehand.
Well, there's a lead into the video. He was obviously running.
He was running towards Mr. McMichael.
He was running toward the truck.
Well, did you see Mr. McMichael in the video?
Yes.
Okay. He's actually running towards Mr. McMichael, is he not?
Well, I don't know that he was running toward Mr. McMichael. He went around the right side of the truck.
Went around the right side of the truck and then cut left.
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did you see to the right of Mr. Arbery a yard, a neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay. So you're not saying, in looking at the video, that he couldn't have continued to run, right?
Objection, speculation, and by the way, I think the jury can go ahead and see and determine what Mr. Arbery could or could not have done.
I think Dr. Donahue's testimony was, in describing fight or flight, that after he could no longer flee, he could fight. And I'm asking him, is there any evidence that Mr. Arbery could no longer flee?
So you're asking what that's based upon?
What his testimony was based upon.
Good.
Okay.
What, could you repeat the question?
Sure. I believe you testified on direct examination that someone in the fight or flight mode, when they can no longer flee, can fight.
They can,
Okay.
yes.
You didn't see any evidence that Mr. Arbery could no longer flee, right?
Well, no, I didn't.
Okay. You examined his body. He was a muscular 25-year-old man, right?
Yes.
Looked to be in good shape from the autopsy, physical shape.
Yes.
Okay. And so there was nothing physically preventing him from continuing to run, right?
No.
And nothing, in fact, from the video you examined from the neighborhood preventing him from running.
That's correct.
Okay. You described the basis for the adrenaline dump and cortisol running through his veins as caused by stress.
Or fear.
Or fear,
Yes.
anger.
Anger too, yes.
Okay. And you have no idea what he was afraid of at that point in time, correct?
Well, there's a man holding a shotgun out there.
Right. So could have been afraid of being shot.
And there was a man following him in a pickup truck.
Okay. Could have been afraid of being caught.
Caught. I don't understand.
Do you know if Mr. Arbery was afraid of being caught?
I don't.
Right. You don't know what you don't know.
Well, yes, I don't know what I don't know.
Okay. You testified that there was nothing that could be done on scene that could save Mr. Arbery's life. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
The phrase you used when you talked to us in March is he was essentially dead before he hit the ground.
Yes.
Excuse me, 1 minute. Thank you, Dr. Bowden. That's all I had, Your Honor.
Any additional questions from the defendants?
Not from Mr. McMichael.
Not from Mr. Bryant.
Any redirect from the state?
Just a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further from the state. Of course, we reserve the right to recall the doctor.
Thank you, doctor. You can go ahead and step down. You are subject to recall.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is noon. Let's go ahead and break for lunch. We'll break until 1 o'clock, and then we'll continue with the evidence at that time. Thank you.
All right, for the jury. We've said it.
Now that we're in state for recess.